I'm Tim Masso. Welcome to Watches Tonight. This is Watchbox Studios. This evening, watch prices are falling, except where they aren't. We chat live and I share your viewer wrist shots tonight on Watches Tonight. Remember to check out the redesigned homepage of thewatchbox.com where you can keep track of watch prices literally by the hour. We are posting new watches 24 hours a day because our business is global. We have many offices around the world. So open another window, keep me streaming, and check out thewatchbox.com. While we give our stragglers a few minutes to file into the audience, consider an eye-raising episode from the last couple of days. Have you ever gotten in over your head, overbid, or overpaid for a watch you just had to have? Imagine your panic if you noticed too late that your commitment included a few too many zeros. Well, that's exactly what happened last week during an online auction for a Lincoln Blackwood pickup on the popular auction site Bring a Trailer. This infamous sales debacle from 2002 has at least some ironic appeal now that 2 decades separates us from the stigma of its loser image. Today, it's worth about $33,000 in perfect condition. But this bidder probably lost his lunch when he realized he just committed Duesenberg money to a plastic wood-bodied Ford in Lincoln lingerie. I agree with the next comment. That bid should do it. Either somebody fat-fingered the keyboard or that pickup is crossing the border with a few dealer-installed options, and by dealer, I don't mean Lincoln. All right, welcome to the box, guys. Fortunately, God loves a fool, and the bid was ultimately canceled. You can see the succession from $5 million to $4,000. That's probably the greatest instance of automotive depreciation in all of recorded history. So, with that as the stage setter, we have Soma Ranki joining in from Budapest. We've got Thomas Burnett, Edward Ledden. We've got Deech 2086 from Western Massachusetts. We've got a monk. Says, hi friends, VC on today. We're doing like a virtual wrist check. Let me know what you're wearing. I'm wearing my Dan Reuter DR02. Time Hill from Virginia. We've got Butik from Poland, but tonight in Prague, which is very nice. Arto Charles from New York City. Edward Ledden from Sweden. We've got Giancarlo P. We've got Time Hill. We've got The Real 2 Fly from Bethpage, my old neck of the woods on Long Island. And James Fernandez from Phoenix. Guys, keep piling in. SJ Singh, welcome from New Zealand, and thank you for getting up early with us. We've got 2 friends today. We got Sid and we've got Sean on the switcher. We're expanding our team. We are a growing company and a growing media department, so welcome, Sid. Okay, viewer wrist shots number 1. I asked, you answered. Let's see what you got. Amy H. sports the evening's ultimate watch with her Watchbox bought Breguet tourbillon skelet, fully skeletonized and engraved with Daniel Roth designed tourbillon movement. It is as good gets. I would even say it is great. Amy, thank you for trusting our company. We've got Nishant P. of Florida who rolls with his BMW M8 and the MB&F Legacy Machine Perpetual in Palladium. I like them both. Austin L. and Edmund K., both fans, share a double shot with Rye and Rolex from Montreal, looking good on both counts. We've got Amin S. from Dallas, shares an appetizing view of fine food and his spectacular Yachtmaster. David D. shares his Watchbox bought Breguet tradition in yellow gold, and thank you so much, David, for trusting our company. Guys, send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com to see your wrist on my list. Okay, jumping into the box, Caliber YQG saying, wow, that's an awesome Breguet. Breguet right now, so underrated. And people are like, oh, but it has nothing to do with Abraham Louis Breguet. And I'm like, yeah, well, there hasn't been a Patek or a Philippe running Patek Philippe for quite a while. We still love them. Okay, what else is going on here? Abdul joining in from Germany. We've got Hale Bop and Dan CT, all from South London. Welcome aboard, guys. In case you haven't seen, yes, watch prices are falling. It's no secret that speculative assets in general, and watches in particular, witnessed a market peak that coincided roughly with the initial Russian invasion of Ukraine, a surge in energy prices, related by the way, newly restrictive monetary policy by major central banks, and various types of quantitative tightening by these authorities. Everything after that point has been nuts. It's been quite a year. Watches aside, how have these risk assets fared? I'm glad you asked, because I have details. Here is the US NASDAQ composite year to date from that little origin point about 2/3 of the way through. That is our year to date. And you can see it's tech heavy and the most speculative of the major US indices. The news is mostly bad and it's well into a bear market. Like inflation, this trend is a global one. Here's the Hong Kong benchmark Hang Seng. Here's the German DAX. Here's France's CAC 40. You notice a trend, guys? Downward. And in case you're wondering, yes, Britain's FTSE, the FTSE, is down too, but it's had a chaotic year in a narrow range as the UK's finest minds rise to the challenge of 10% inflation. At this point, I think they have roughly equal competence and authority on this matter. That said, one of these figures that you just saw, if we could jump back, Sid, has a proven history of lowering the price of staples like food. The other wants to cut Ronald's taxes. I'll leave it to you who you trust more. All right. Now, you'll be delighted to know that your dollar can buy more luxury watch as of the 3rd of October 2022, because if you are spending dollars, the dollar is strong like bull right now. It is one of the craziest currencies of the year. That is what you call a safe haven, and cash right now is king. So, what could you buy with your newly potent US dollar? Well, consider the FP Journe Chronomaster Bleu, which is one of the most challenging watches of the last few years. First, because of the way scarcity and prices spiked, and now because there's a little bit of a pullback. So, a quick history lesson. This model launched in 2009, and it became the single most sought FP Journe watch by the fall of 2021. One could say it was already the most sought before that, but things went really crazy in late 2021. By January of this year, the watch was trading in a range between $110,000 and $120,000. Sacré bleu, quite literally. This is a watch that retails for $37,400, which is up quite a bit from the original 2009 retail of under 20 grand. But still, when you look at $120,000 for a $37,000 watch, that is probably unsustainable when that $37,000 watch is still very much in production. So, I was thrilled to see this kind of energy behind a dress watch. That's the good news. Normally, it's the sports watches that get all the love. It was pretty cool to see a small-ish 39mm uncomplicated, non-water resistant, or very minimally water resistant dress watch get this kind of love from the watch collector fraternity. But I didn't understand why this tantalum beauty was such a unique fetish in a world that also includes gorgeous micro rotors from Laurent Ferrier and Geneva seal Louis Ulysse Chopards that languish for very little money on Chrono 24. A quick survey of our recent prices reveals a moderating marketplace for this watch. Now, it's still trading at well over twice retail, but the heights of January 2022 will take some time to regain. I'm not a Journe fanboy, but I'm optimistic about these in the long term, which I'm going to define as half a decade to a decade. It's not that long, and frankly, anyone with the money to buy this likely can look back on decades of time and marvel how quickly a decade passes. So, if you got in at 110, don't sell now. As with stocks, there will always be a bottom and there will always be a recovery. So if you own this watch right now, don't sell distressed. Hang on to it, enjoy it, and if you must sell, sell down the line when you can benefit from your patience. For now, it's just a beautiful watch to enjoy and still one of the most in-demand timepieces in the world. Okay, Vacheron Constantine. Overseas self-winding blue dial. A watch that went from an AP Patek-like sort of also ran. It was very much like a Royal Oak. It was very much like a Nautilus or an Aquanaut, but no one paid it that kind of respect in its first few years on the market. It went from that also ran status to a heady $70,000. And then in the course of 1 year, this year, it went from 70 grand to about half of that. So this has been a roller coaster ride. You saw the FTSE before? Well, this is just like the British Stock Index. These things have been up and down dramatically, really just in the space of 7 months. No mass-produced reference in this class has been more volatile than this one in 2022. The model was the definition of a bubble, and the bubble has burst. And it retails for $22,500. So is it at rock bottom? Probably not. It seems that the last assets to balloon are always the first to burst. This watch didn't hit peak until nearly 4 years into the fever for integrated bracelet sports watches. And there's currently a pretty big delta between the price of one of these things with a blue, black, or brown dial and the silver dial, which means I think there's a little bit more leveling due in the market as these watches are still very much in production, and Vacheron made as many as they could sell at closeout prices for the first 5 or so years it was on the market. All of which means there's a pretty good supply out there, and there's a lot of real inventory floating around at pre-owned dealers and on Chrono24. So I do think prices will sink a little bit more here. Maybe not tremendously, maybe not to the retail price, but a little bit more from where they are right now. The global economy is far from out of the woods, so anything that isn't specifically a hedge probably has a little bit more time to bleed, whether it's this watch or many other assets. Consider the S&P 500, probably the benchmark index in the US and maybe for the world. It's about $3,700 right now. It could absolutely shed another 10 to 15%, but almost certainly isn't going to repeat its 23% slide from January to today. Could it? Anything's possible. I don't think it will. If the bottom line for you is the bottom line, stay away from this watch for now. If you're interested in the experience of owning the watch, then buy it and enjoy it. No one ever cares about the retained value of a purebred dog or a trip to Europe or a year of eating at a fine restaurant. You never get that money back, but we're kind of fixated on this idea that watches are going to make us money or cost us nothing to own. We never take that attitude to any other facet of like the luxury lifestyle. So if you're into luxury watches, don't worry too much about the price of this one. Again, long term, if you buy now, you're not going to lose. But if for you, long term means 6 months, there are better options, and I'm going to show them to you. Okay, jumping into the chat box right here, we got Titus A. Oh, by the way, Titus Andronicus. Titus Andronicus, was that the band that put out the album The Monitor? That was pretty cool. He's saying first generation overseas reigns supreme. Very, very neat, very neat. By the way, I know there was another Titus Andronicus. But Sean Hansen saying maybe we can get these pieces at MSRP at the ADs soon. We got Huxley, Orwell, and Rand. I noticed a theme there saying, hi Tim, it's Walter from New Jersey. Walter, welcome. I'm so happy you're watching. What else is going on? We've got Lucan B saying Vacheron is a dead end. I don't know about that, but I'd say of the Holy Trinity, it's definitely the sick man of Europe. Think Ottoman Empire circa 1914. Or what else is going on? We have a question from Titus. Have I heard anything about the new 70th anniversary 50 Fathoms? No, but I could probably reach out to Jeff Kingston and find out a little bit more than I'm supposed to know. So, hold your fire, I'm going to find out for you. What else is going on in the box? Abdul R saying, watch collecting is an experience, so there should be a cost to it. And Neo saying, Tim writes, extortion of Alex the watchmaker is absolutely disgusting. That's why I stay a million miles away from the politics of YouTube watch channels. I have no interest in that crap, frankly. I don't even watch most other YouTube watch channels. So I stay clear of that crap, and I talk about watches, and people who want to talk politics do like the Bush League version, and they talk about, you know, YouTube watch politics. If I go into politics, it's going to be on the advocacy side as a second career after this. I'm going to keep it separate from YouTube, and certainly separate from watch YouTube. What else is going on? Kent D is in the box. All right, guys. Let's take a look at the eternal bridesmaid to the Nautilus. No, not the overseas. It's stablemate at Patek Philippe, the Aquanaut, the Patek Aquanaut 5167A. So for a moment in February and early March, it looked like the Aquanaut's time had come. Confirmed reports of $100,000 transactions for the strap-clad model illustrate the definition of an overheated market when the retail price of the model, after all, was only $23,070. Almost 4 times that was just nuts. It was nuck and futz, as they say. Now, prices in the high 40s and low 50s are reasonable for a steel Aquanaut right now. And even bracelet variants now trade in a range from about $50,000 to $65,000. So we have seen a huge intra-2022 deflation in this model in all its forms in steel, whether it's on a bracelet or on a strap. Frankly, I can't imagine paying $100 grand for an Aquanaut on a strap, but there was a period of about, I'd say, 60 days when that was a thing. So even on a bracelet, this watch retails for just over $26,000. So the market is anything but a bust if that watch is still pulling down $60,000 to $65,000. Take note, both the high horology stainless steel market slide and the decline in steel Rolex sports watches started in China during the first quarter. I was talking to some of our friends over there, and they were telling me back in February and March, no one wants the Nautilus, no one wants the Aquanaut, no one wants GMTs, Daytonas, and subs. So it's interesting to look at China, which used to be a market and sort of a world unto itself, as now a bit of a canary in the coal mine for the luxury watch market globally. It's fascinating because for many years, China didn't lead the way Hong Kong and Singapore and Japan led in the market and led as tastemakers. And now we're starting to see a world where China does that, both on the new watch side and on the pre-owned side, where previously Chinese customers had very little interest. So I see a sea change here, and it's fascinating from a inside the industry perspective. Another example of a market in flux is the new for 2022 Rolex GMT Master II VTNR. This is a first of many, a bunch of interesting firsts here. They debuted back in March. The green bezel, it's black and green, lefty GMT, retails for $11,050, which frankly is quite fair. It became a $47,000 used watch literally the moment after the first one hit Chrono 24. So it's been falling ever since. This one has come down to earth like a meteorite. Like the meteorite bearing the blob, it wreaks destruction. All will be consumed. Current transaction prices in the high $20,000 range are common. That's still a fine premium over its retail price. Remember, $11,000 is fair for a watch that can sell for almost 3 times that used. But how many dealers right now are in way over their heads with this watch that so many Chrono 24 asks are priced like it's still April of this year? Also, look at how many of those are photos of real inventory. This isn't a dealer saying, pay me and I'll try to get the watch. This is a dealer saying, please, please bail me out. And that's not good news. Right now, you shouldn't pay more than $27,000 to $29,000 for one of these, and that's just the state of the market. Anyone asking $46,000 is nuts. All right. By the way, if you are allergic to nuts, I've got a couple of watches coming up that are very fairly priced. Their markets haven't moved up, their markets haven't moved down. Let's take a look at the box right here. We have a lot of friends joining in, and this chat box is moving like absolute lightning. We've got Edward Letton saying, unfortunately, it looks like the obsession with, I think he's saying the obsession with appreciation is the big enemy of our hobby. Kent D is happy to see the lefty. And then right here, Abdul is saying, no one wants to buy flashy Instagram watches because of getting mugged on the streets. Increasingly true around the world. And then right here we have Mark S saying, Tim, will you please do a 10/31/22 Halloween themed episode? Oh, you better believe that's going to happen. Actually, I don't know if I can. I'm going to be in Switzerland. I don't think I can do that. Maybe I'll do some sort of live stream with my phone. It'll be like, found footage. Think like the Blair Witch product, except unlike that particular product, it won't suck. So it'll be like the Tim Masso Witch project, and it'll be really neat and a lot of fun. We'll go full-blown Wiccan in luxury watches. That's a paradigm we haven't explored. Okay, what else is going on here? We got Slow Car saying they used to be $15,000, then $35,000. What about now? If you're talking about the GMT, think $27,000 to $29,000. Okay, what else is going on? Let's jump back to our regularly scheduled program. Sid is on the switcher. He's doing a great job, and I really appreciate that. Viewers chats number 2. Eric O captures a sensational his and hers in Napa, including his retirement Rolex Daytona, newly bought. Congratulations, Eric. Enjoy your retirement. May it be long, healthy, and fun. Mike P shares an impressive tandem of his Audi S5 and Carl F. Bucher Monero flyback chronograph. Miguel J and his Omega Chronostop soar at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. I always wondered how these things work. Like, you can't really control where they go. How do you recover all these balloons? Who follows you on the ground? I have so many questions, but it looks cool. We have Marcus G wins the evening, I believe, with his shot of his tantalum, titanium, and rose gold Seamaster and some chic Tim Masso themed accessories. Rondell A and his Grand Seiko SPGV 243 hit the road on his Harley Davidson Road King. Very cool. Guys, let's take a look at what watches. By the way, if you want to send me your wrist shots, send it to the email mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. And if you have an Instagram account, include that. I'll tag you. But let's take a look at watches that we shouldn't worry about buying right now. These models briefly, if ever, experienced the bubble-like inflation of the watches we mentioned before, and we're starting with a well-known piece from last model year, the Zenith Chronomaster Sport. This was the most controversial watch of 2021, and it wasn't debated for its resale value, but that's worth mentioning in light of the Zenith performance relative to its obvious inspiration, the Rolex Daytona. Now you can see back and forth between those two. It's very clear that one begot the other. And I have nothing against Zenith for doing this. You know, the low-lying fruit. Rolex has a hell of a wait list, and the Chronomaster Sport is a nice watch. But take a look at steel Daytonas. They had a confirmed $52,000 at their peak in the first quarter. That's the current generation steel ceramic watch with a white dial. And now they're consistently at $27,000 to $32,000. Again, a little bit underneath $30,000 in some cases with the black dial and the black bezel combo. So the Zenith has actually outperformed the Rolex on the market this year. Let's consider the Zenith in the same period. This is a watch that retails for $11,000 right now. That's up $1,000 from last year, but still a fair price. It peaked at just under $10,000 as a used watch in the first quarter of this year, and now they're available widely for about $9,000. So, relative to the Rolex Daytona, this watch that went from 10 to 9 is really beating the pants off the Daytona in 2022. The Daytona has shed tens of thousands of dollars worth of value, whereas the Zenith is down about 9%. Not so bad. Wouldn't you say that a 9 to 10% decline is a bit easier to stomach than the Daytona's roller coaster this year? I would. If you want to read more about the market for the Chronomaster Sport, economics professor and watch blogger Brendan Cunningham has a whole discussion of the Chronomaster Sport and market prices over at his blog, Horolonomics. Highly recommended, a good read, and not just for this article, bookmark it. You will enjoy it. Okay, back to the box. What's going on? Mob is saying still impossible to get Rolex at retail. Waiting lists are growing shorter, and if you want certain models, you can take delivery right now. Do you want a yellow gold Day-Date? No problem. Do you want a Cellini? No problem. Do you want something that's a 2022 model year watch or one of the big three steel sports watches? You're probably going to wait. What else is going on? We got Hans N saying, hi Timmy. Hi Hans, good to see you. And then we've got Abdul saying hi to Hans. That's what I like about our chat box. We've got a great audience, the best on YouTube. So few trolls here. And even our trolls are fairly witty and enjoyable. All right, what else is going on? Well, what else is going on? Chopard and the Alpine Eagle 41. This is a watch that launched in 2019, and it bowed at the right time for this type of timepiece. But Chopard has mostly held the line on price. At $13,400 new, the price is right for the quality that's offered inside and out. Its dial is deeply textured, beautifully gradiated, and achingly gorgeous. The closer you get, the more impressive it is. The movement is COSC and in-house, 60 hours, automatic winding, and the size at 41 millimeters is ideal. It's over 100 meters water resistant, so this is a great all-around watch. It's even more scratch resistant than standard steel. It's got everything going for it. So, the size is ideal and the aftermarket is sane, because we're going to take a look here at Watch Charts, which is a fun market aggregator that you should check out. And they have a range that includes the highs, the lows, private sale, and aftermarket pre-owned vendor. So what you can see right here, they didn't get the retail price right. Retail price right now is $13,400, but it indicates a roughly 10% price slide for the model. Also, note the narrow spread between private sale and pre-owned dealer. The band looks wide, but when you look at the scale, it really isn't. A quick survey of asks on Chrono24 backs this assessment. Asking prices in this range could easily lead to transaction prices within about $500 of Watch Chart's estimated value. And Watch Charts, if you didn't get a good look at that chart, is estimating about $10,000 to $10,500 private sale to buy one of these used, a little bit more to buy it from a dealer. So if you're looking for something that's as much fun as the Vacheron, but potentially less volatile with less to lose, the stability of the Chopard, even amid declines, is quite appealing. Never inflated, the Alpine Eagle isn't likely to crash as a result. All right, in the box, Time Hill saying, hard to beat the Chopard. We've got Macide saying, when they copy Patek Philippe, I think it's more of a matter of them copying Patek, not Laurent Ferrier, but the Laureato from Gerard Perregaux, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, the Rolex Oyster Quartz, many, many watches. But remember, it copied them long ago, as the current Alpine Eagle is a revival of the 1980s Chopard Saint Moritz, which was a contemporary ripoff of all of those better-known sports watches. So it has some real historical authenticity behind it, even if it's no less derivative. It is a very nice watch for the money asked. We've got Peter K saying, let's go. Love catching a live show with Tim. Thank you so much, Peter. I appreciate you catching me live. And then we have Abdul R saying, I'd like the Eagle in 36, non-date version. Hey, the Royal Oak 14790 in tantalum is for you, Abdul. All right, jumping back into the wrist shots. Pravin K explores traffic in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia with his Rolex Explorer. Fitting. Aldo S and his Brigade Tradition are in good hands thanks to Dragon Ball Z heroics. Marvin R wins the photography stakes with this shot of his green sub in Nassau. I love the color there. Look at that water. My gosh. We have Kwang D, who proves that quartz is legit luxury with his 9F powered Grand Seiko SBGN 003. And Tamim A joins from Bahrain and looks like he's in maybe a club? I can't tell. But he asks me to guess which model. I guess Milgauss, based on the picture. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your watch on my box. Okay, now we get to the anomalies. These watches are surging in a falling market. They're actually gaining substantially, with a lot of those gains backloaded in the second half of the year, making it all the more exceptional. A Lange Odysseus, the steel Odysseus, reference 363179. I don't know what's going on, but this watch, popular but not crushingly in demand out of the gate, has become a watch priced around $30,000, and they were selling $60,000 to $70,000 in the spring, which told me back then Lange had fully advanced the same status as the likes of AP and Patek and Vacheron. So they joined the Holy Trinity Integrated Sports Watch Club with respectable premiums over retail. But then things continued to get crazy, even as the others started to flag. Again, we look to watch charts with a focus on the high-end. Transaction prices between $80,000 and $90,000 now, in October of 2022, are common. And a quick look at the asks on Chrono24, that's real inventory for the most part, aligns with this notion of $80,000 to $90,000 prices that are transacting in the $80,000 to $90,000 range. So, while Chrono24 prices often exceed transaction prices by a fair margin, even a discount from these asks lands solidly in the mid-80s. Note that the listings appear to have actual watches ready for delivery. This is so important because it suggests that the dealers are able to deliver at whatever sale price is agreed. So this is a real sales proposition, not pie in the sky, not a number they'd like to get and a watch they hope to find. I don't know what's driving this, especially since Lange as a brand is considerably weaker than the likes of Audemars Piguet or Patek Philippe. But right now, the Odysseus just goes from strength to strength. The white, gold, and titanium models too, all the more maybe. I don't know what's driving this, but maybe it's just a good product that's objectively scarce. The Odysseus, launched in 2019, is scarcer than any steel Nautilus, than any steel Aquanaut, than any steel Royal Oak. And that's working in its favor. Okay, Lange makes the hit list twice with the long-running but suddenly red-hot Zeitwerk in white gold. It is one of my favorite watches and one of my true grails from the time I started in the watch industry. And it's been around for a while. This is not a supernova exploding newly into the market. It was made for the first time in 2009, and it's been available continuously since then. So I'm not sure why its time is now, but it definitely is. Look back to 2016. These things were selling used for $45,000 to $48,000. Throughout 2021, they were higher than that, but they were pretty consistently $62,000 to $65,000 used. In the spring of 2022, they still sold for $70,000 to $75,000, but the trend continues upward even in the last 3 months. As of late 2022, as of right now, they're selling in the $85,000 to $90,000 range, which puts them within an earshot of the retail price of the watch. These things have recouped all of their losses. And given how long they've been on the market and how many are in circulation, it surprises me to see this, because if there's one factor that weighs against high aftermarket pricing, it's usually a short production run and scarcity. This watch, while rare compared to something by Rolex or Omega, is fairly common by Lange standards, and I don't know what is putting pressure upwardly on these. I'm glad that it is, though. This is an example of a meritorious watch that is actually worth the aftermarket price. This is a watch you buy for its case back, I admit. but also the fun jumping time display that makes the 42mm Zeitwerk one of the most appealing Langes from the dial side. You don't feel like you have to wear it upside down to get the most out of this watch, and that sets it apart from just about every dotograph and Lange 1 and 1815 and Saxonia ever made. Okay, here's a bit of a shock. The Audemars Piguet Code 1159 perpetual calendar. This was an incredibly controversial model line when it launched because back in 2019, the automatic and the chronograph were kind of ugly. Well, good news for the chrono, it's flat all year this year between $39,000 and $41,000 used. I haven't seen a lot of upward or downward movement, meaning if you like it, this is a great time to pile in. But what really struck me is that this code, 1159, oops, got to jump back there. There we go. This code 1159 was the one born beautiful. Everyone agreed that the aventurine dial and the rose gold case was stunning from the first. And it's defied the marketplace. In a year that has seen the Royal Oak Jumbo 15202 down at least 20% on the aftermarket, the code is just absolutely breathtaking, both in terms of its appearance and its performance, and I don't know what is driving this. It is the perpetual calendar with aventurine dial that is everything Audemars Piguet could be in our dreams. It's beautifully detailed, from the aventurine to the rose gold accents to the prismatic three-dimensional evacuated case, the buttress-like lugs, and the photorealistic moon phase. Transaction prices around $90,000 are within hailing distance of the watch's roughly $95,000 retail price. Most impressive is that this code calendar surge has been concentrated in the last 90 days, which defies the trends of equities, cryptocurrencies, classic cars, and NFTs during this period. AP did a lot right with the code 1159, but the perpetual calendar was the best of them. And in a time when AP's steel sports watches are starting to suffer a little bit on the secondary market, perhaps we're waking up to the potential of Audemars Piguet dress watches. All right, guys, viewer wrist shots number 4. Let's see what you got. Mohammed E in his Grand Seiko GMT SBGN 011 ride with Porsche in his Macan S SUV. We've got Karsten M of Montreal visits New York City with his Riascendo Cave Blue Grand Seiko SBGK 15. I love that dial. Nice shot against the Statue of Liberty, by the way. We have Rafat K reporting from the road in Muscat, Oman. In Muscat, he's rocking his Grail watch, the Breguet 5277, looking great behind the wheel. Wear it long and prosper. I love to see someone who realizes his Grail. Stefano B portrays his full bracelet Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter 007 edition, looking good. If you get that watch, you kind of have to get the bracelet. And then Chris T and his Zenith-powered Rolex Daytona watch the Singapore Grand Prix. Spoiler alert, it was a Red Bull victory. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to tell you which Red Bull. And they drive us home with F1 power and speed. Chris, thank you. Guys, send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. The party continues afterwards on my Instagram. That's Tim_Masso. Check me out, all 60-second watch reviews. I've got over 2,000 of them. You can binge watch them to your heart's content. It's also where I post the newest and best watch box inventory. This is where the rare stuff goes up often before it hits our website. So guys, check me out. I want to thank Sid. He did a great job. Sean and Sid, they are getting up to speed on a very difficult process to coordinate these graphics and the monologue, and they did an awesome job. Guys, thanks so much. You make the best job in watches possible. Time out, Tim out. Thanks for logging on.